Walter Payton wasn't a civil rights leader, but he did help integrate Columbia High School, where he was from. And I want to talk about this. Okay. I want to share with y'all what I've learned from the book Sweetness. Okay. Which is a great biography on a great man. Okay. Before we get into this, and this is something we got to get into. This is something you want to talk about with your children. We got to have these talks because we see the assault on real history right now. Okay, we see the assault on real history, so you need to talk to your children about this type of stuff. Okay, but before we get into it, I gotta handle business. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Okay, it's so important for y'all to subscribe because when I get out here, I'm trying to get these sponsors. Okay, the channel looks more appealing the more sponsors. I mean, the more subscribers you have. Excuse me. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Share. Put all your people on it. You feel me? I am your homeboy first, and this is the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. Put it on some. Again, hit that subscribe button. Share. Join the channel. Contribute via Cashapp. Y'all see it scrolling across the screen. Contribute via super thanks. Whatever you give, y'all helps the company as we continue to grow. Because the goal is to be the one-stop shop for Black culture. Okay, but let's get into it. Okay, I told y'all this is the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. We're gonna lean into that realest aspect of it right now. Okay, when we're talking about the integration of public schools, we know that Brown versus Board of Education 1954, that's the ruling that said it needs to go ahead and happen that separate but equal was illegal in public schools. Of course, schools wanted to ignore that, so they had to do Brown 2 and tell them to go ahead and integrate with all deliberate speed, still leaving it kind of vague though. And southern states just ignored it. They just ignored Brown. The Brown decision was in 1954, and Walter's city, Columbia, they ain't integrating until late 1969. That's just because the court stepped in and told them, hey, y'all gotta go ahead and integrate by the end of the year. Okay. You even had some piece of shit by the name of Thomas Pickens Brady, excuse me. All right. He wrote a book called Black Monday. And that's mentioned in this book, Sweetness. I want to speak on that. I want to share that with you, okay? Here's the excerpt. It says, and in Mississippi, a circuit court judge named Thomas Pickens Brady published a book, Black Monday, that called for the dissolution of the NAACP, the creation, get this, the creation of a 49th state for Negroes, and the abolition of public schools. This the type of shit motherfuckers were doing and saying because the Supreme Court said you had integrated school. Now, motherfucker like me, I'm not really opposed to that creation of a new state for Black people. But that's another story. We'll talk about that another day. But y'all kind of see the type of mindset where motherfuckers were on just by the idea that kids were gonna be going to school together, man. Let's look at the newspapers. Okay. The local newspaper there, the Columbian Progress. And I'm laughing because that motherfucker got the name Progress in it. You tell me if this stance is progressive. This is another excerpt. Okay. It reads, with its April 10th, 1969 staff editorial titled Race Differences, the Columbian Progress hit back at those pushing for full scholastic integration. Written by Lester Williams, the newspaper's editor. So this ain't no side motherfucker. This is the editor of the newspaper writing this, okay? The piece called for blacks and whites to accept and embrace their differences, beginning with the fact that blacks are clearly dumber. White supremacy. It states, too many are afraid to admit citizens are obviously not equal in abilities or talents, that races have differences too. But those inequalities are normal and desirable. In fact, it would be tragic if we were all equal, wanted the same things, and had the same talents and preferences. This is from April 10th, 1969, people. My mother would turn 22 that year. My mother. I'm mentioning shit like that because when folks be talking about all this shit about reparations for slavery and uh, 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 people shouldn't be punished for what the sins of the past. God damn it, the past is closer than what you think. Look at what this motherfucker, a newspaper editor was putting some shit like this in a newspaper in 1969. This is where Walter was living. This is a state where my mama was living. Whew. Now you might wonder, well, how were the Paytons feeling about living in a place like this? Well, the biographer says this, okay? It reads, although they certainly weren't thrilled with some aspects of second-class citizenship, it was a matter-of-fact way of life. As far as they were concerned, Eddie had received an excellent education at Jefferson, sans the social pressures that would come with integration. All right. So it's saying like Walter Payton's parents weren't cool with segregation, but it's like after so long of the bullshit, you just come to accept it and like, well, our child Eddie Payton got a good education at Jefferson. He gone on to Jack State and he didn't have to deal with none of the bullshit, dealing with these white folks with integration. It quotes Eddie Payton here. It says, there's this belief that blacks were outraged about life, said Eddie. Not true. We were comfortable. Maybe we were naive. I don't know. But we were factually comfortable and at peace. To read shit like that is heartbreaking because it just shows you like our people lose hope, and then you just kind of get used to the bullshit and you just kind of go along with it, and just like it is what it is. And I hope none of y'all out there viewing this or listening to this that you ever get comfortable with the bullshit that we deal with here in America, man. I don't want you to ever get comfortable with this shit. They don't ever get complacent with this shit. Let's keep fighting it. But I understand the sentiment, though. I do understand the sentiment that they were feeling at the time. You feel me? Another excerpt highlights the hypocrisy of the local whites at the time, local white people at the time. Because like when the schools were separate, where the white kids were going to Columbia High School and the black kids were going to Jefferson High School. Okay, that's where Walter Payton started out with high school, Jefferson High School. Okay, so when they were separate like that, the white people were saying, "What y'all complaining for? Everything equal." Okay, but then when they combined, they switched up on it. Okay, check this out. The book reads, it was interesting as Fred Idom, a black teacher who transferred from Jefferson High to Columbia High. When the schools were separate, whites insisted everything was equal and that we need to stop our complaining. But as soon as the ruling came down, they renovated Jefferson and fixed it up so it would be ready for the whites. Because see, what ended up happening was Columbia High School became the high school for both black and white, both black people and white people. And then Jefferson High School became the middle school. Okay. So, like, when they had to go over there themselves, oh, we need to renovate this shit. It's late 1969, man. This shit ain't that far away. My older sister was born 1970, Jack. Come on, man. And these folks out here banning real history. They banning real history, man. Many still refuse to accept integration. So what did they do? They created them motherfucking academies. Okay? They created them academies, which I call, and many others call, segregation academies. The book states, more worrisome was the looming presence of Columbia Academy, a nearby private school that had been founded 3 years earlier, with the inevitability of desegregation forced many white citizens into a state of panic. As soon as the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals announced its ruling, the phone at Columbia Academy began to ring nonstop. It was a white flight school in every sense of the term, said Thomas H. Blakeney, Columbia Academy's headmaster at the time. People were motivated by the fear of such cultural change. I knew some black people before desegregation, but only in limited settings. To go from that to completely desegregated schools was a huge upheaval. Huge upheaval. Blakeney hardly exaggerates. Pre-desegregation, Columbia Academy had an enrollment of 53 students. By the completion of the 1970 academic year, that total had swelled to 150, all white. Looking back, the school was a big mistake, said Blakeney. Clearly it was, but people, myself included, weren't as enlightened as they are today. I guess we were sheltered. Big question with that is, are motherfuckers enlightened today? With the shit that we got going on right now, with the war on truth that we got going on right now, are people enlightened today? Sad. Sad. Many of the black teachers got fired or demoted. Like the ones that were coming over from Jefferson High School to Columbia, many of them got fired. Check this out. Another excerpt. It says, Columbia High's administration completed the 1970 academic year by having blacks and whites situated in separate classrooms. Furthermore, with so many white students bolting for Columbia Academy, the school district didn't need to retain all its teachers. 18 holdovers, all from Jefferson, all black, were fired. Backed by the NAACP, the dismissed staffers sued. The court mandated that we all be offered our positions back, but we were badly manipulated, said Edom, one of the dismissed. Let's say you were a principal before the lawsuit. Well, you'll be brought back as an assistant principal. Let's say you were a head coach of some team. They bring you back, but to be an assistant. It was unconscionable. This ain't that long time ago. These people were not free. See this shit? Like, I just want to paint the picture for you of what Walter Payton was in the midst of down there. Okay? See, we get caught up in the lovey-dovey. Oh, if you know a story, if people sanitize, it make it seem like, okay, black people and white people got together. Walter got to running that football and everything became, it ain't that simple. It ain't that simple. Okay? It was deeper than that. Okay? As the book states. So what inspires students of both races to let their guards down? The cliched answer has long been sports. The ability of blacks and whites to come together on a field of play. Yet the simplicity of that reply demeans what actually occurred. From the depths of the student body, uncomfortable with itself, a small handful of leaders emerged. Johnson and Barber, the class presidents, were two. So there were other players in there as well. All right. But the most important, the most influential was Walter Payton. It's a great man. It's a great man. And it wasn't just his play on the field that did the trick. Okay. It was the way that Walter treated everybody in the school. Like you fucking superstar, but he's still showing love to everybody. You feel me? Now, when it comes to his play on the field, that was a unifying factor in terms of it's something that's objective that he's great, like black, white, whatever. If you looked at Walter Payton running football, uh, your eyes don't lie. Your eyes don't lie. And see, I wish we could focus on that type of shit today, like across the board. Stop letting your eyes lie. Motherfuckers, or the motherfuckers don't trust their eyes, I should say. The eyes ain't lying. Motherfuckers just ain't trusting what they see in terms of the common things that we got going on, the common challenges that we face, no matter what color you are. If you come from poverty, or if you in the middle class or working class and you struggling to goddamn make ends meet, hell, inflation fucking with you no matter what color you are. But motherfuckers just got an election coming up in Mississippi. And some of these folks is gonna fall for that shit again and get caught up on race and get caught up on what would Tate Reed got a commercial about? Transgender sports. He got his little girl in a commercial to my some transgender person trying to take her soccer spot. Like, come on, Tate. Like, we got bigger fish to fry, man. We got some real shit. We got hospitals closing. But motherfuckers not finna vote like that. Maybe I should be hopeful. Okay, maybe they will get right. But there are some objective things that we should be looking at as like truths. Walter Payton was a truth. They could look at that and they could all cheer together and say, that motherfucker's special. We got to find that common ground, bro, and focus on that instead of bullshit cultural differences. You feel me? But now, again, even though they were agreeing on Walter's greatness, that don't mean everything still after that was all peaches and cream at them. You still had some bullshit going on. For instance, Coach Boston, who was coach at Jefferson High School, he ended up not being hired as the head coach, even though he was clearly qualified. Clearly qualified. Check this out, okay? The book states, in a fair world, Wilkinson's replacement would have been a no-brainer. Wilkinson talking about the previous coach of Columbia High School. Okay. Charles Boston had coached Jefferson for 7 years with startling success. As the Columbia High program often floundered under Wilkinson, struggling to crack 500 in the mediocre South Little Dixie Conference, Boston's Green Wave routinely contended for the Thailand Conference title. Even though it was significantly more difficult for black high school players to receive scholarships than white ones, Boston sent one player after another into the collegiate ranks. 3 even landed in the NFL. Watch this. Instead of considering Boston for the job, however, Hugh Dickens, Columbia's new superintendent of schools, decreed that Wilkinson's replacement must have a master's degree. Now, what the fuck you need a master's degree for to coach some damn football? But y'all know what that was. The stipulation ruled out 99% of Mississippi's black coaches, most of whom had to overcome merciless layers of racism merely to receive an undergraduate diploma. And then here's a quote from Coach Boston. I obviously knew I could handle the position and do very well, said Boston, but the times were difficult. People felt as if we had to take all these baby steps. bullshit. So they end up hiring a white coach, and he intelligently kept Coach Boston on staff as a position coach. Okay, but y'all see the bullshit I'm talking about. Like Walter Payton went through some shit, like so many black kids in the South at this time that were going through this shit. It kind of puts you in the mind of Remember the Titans, the classic Denzel movie. Now, fortunately, that character, but not even character. Fortunately, that coach, because that's based on real life, was able to get the head coaching spot, Coach Boone. But you saw how much hell he caught from that. You know what I'm saying? So this shit ain't that far away from now, y'all. Just gave you several examples of how uh, close it is, how tangible these stories are to us right now. So don't let anybody fool you about the legacy of not only slavery but of segregation. Okay, we still feel the effects of it today. But a great football player by the name of Walter Payton, by his greatness, by his intelligence, by his charm, by his willingness to be friendly with people across the board, uh, by his firm stance of not taking no shit, because that matters as well now. Because there's an excerpt in the book that talks about a white boy spit on him, and it's kind of, they don't know whether it was on purpose or accidentally, but Walter Payton slapped shot that motherfucker. And that kind of shit matters too. Okay, I mean the book also talks about Walter Payton, wanting to date one of his white cheerleaders, but because of the time he couldn't do that. Talks about the fact that initially all the cheerleaders were white, and so we already know like this standard of beauty has always been a thing. You still see that in a lot of these PWIs. Well, 70% of the football team be black, but then the whole goddamn cheerleader white, and you got one little black girl mixed in there or something. So much of this stuff still lingers. So we have so much work to do. But I would say that all of us should seek inspiration from people like Walter Payton. Not a civil rights leader, but contributed to the civil rights movement where he was from just by being himself and by being great. So you can contribute yourself to our human rights struggle. You can contribute yourself to black liberation. You can contribute yourself to the betterment of your community just by being yourself and by being great. All right? Put it on something.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?